let's explore the mind-body connection. When we're talking about how our thoughts influence our body, that's really what we're talking about, is the connection between our mind and our body. So I want to start with one of my favorite examples. And so we're going to need to use our imagination. So you can just get into a comfortable position and close your eyes for a moment. And I want to have you walk in your mind into the kitchen. And look at that. On your counter, there's a cutting board and there's a big old lemon. And next to that lemon is a sharp knife. And so just let yourself walk up to that, and you can put your hand on the lemon and it's almost like you can feel how juicy it is. And then let yourself cut through that lemon. And as you do, you can see the, sparkle of the juice squirting out of the skin, and you can start to smell it in the air. And then I want you to take half of that lemon, take it up to your nose and smell it, and then put it in your mouth and bite it. And let that lemon juice fill your mouth. And I don't know about you, but I can feel my mouth starting to salivate. And I can almost taste that lemon. And here we are. If you open your eyes, we're not in our kitchens. We don't have a lemon. Our body is responding to the lemon that exists only in our mind. And yet, last night when you sat down for dinner, you didn't have to think to yourself like, oh yeah, I need to remember to salivate tonight, right? We have this amazing automatic process that happens whether we think about it or not. And yet, we just made it happen with our minds. So there are many systems in our body that's possible with. We can increase our heart rate by thinking about our heart, right? We can slow it down by thinking about it. We can do the same with our breath. We can speed up our respiration or slow it down. And yet, when we're not thinking about it, our heart is going to keep beating because that's what our heart does. And our lungs are going to keep breathing because that's what our lungs do, whether we're paying attention to them or not. But when we do take our attention there, we can influence them. So our thoughts are another thing that we can influence when we're paying attention to them, right? We have these amazing brains, and they are going to think whether you're paying attention to what you're thinking about or not. And so in the case of childbirth, when we have been raised in a culture where childbirth is talked about with negative connotations, talked about with fear, often when we think about childbirth, unless we're paying attention, we'll think about negative things. We might think about the fearful, negative stories that we've been told. And what happens when we do that is our body then is bathed in stress hormones, right? Which just reinforces that when we think about fear, we feel bad. So paying attention to our minds, paying attention to what you're exposing yourself to while you're pregnant, and how you're thinking about childbirth matters. And so let's take that a step further, and we'll think about another part of our body that we just think of as an automatic process, which is our uterine muscles. So we expect that when we go into labor, our uterine muscles are going to do their job to open our cervix, and then they're going to do their job to push our baby out, and it's going to be what it's going to be. But what if we can influence those muscles to work even more efficiently with our thoughts? So what if by learning how they work, how they open our body, how they push the baby out, we can just give our body that little bit of extra permission for that to happen? Well, I can imagine that some of you are feeling really skeptical right now. And I imagine that because that's what I used to see when I would teach a classroom full of pregnant mamas. I would see skepticism in their faces. So let's take a step back from that place that we just ventured to, if I'd taken a step too far, and we'll step back to something that's more culturally appropriate. And let's take ourselves to visualization to prepare for a sporting event. So imagine the top gymnast who is preparing to do her floor routine. And as she's preparing, part of her preparation is visualization, right? She's visualizing herself running, doing the steps in the right order, flipping her body at just the right time. And as she imagines that landing, boom, she nails it, right? She does all the turns, all the landings, solid, visualizing over and over and over again, patterning that into her body, giving her body permission to do it so that when she goes to do those things in her actual life, her body already knows what to do, right? So that is permissible in our culture. And you are preparing for an incredibly important event. And when I talk to pregnant mamas, often I will ask them, well, what's your ideal birth scenario? And often I will be told, like, oh, I don't know. I don't want to talk about that. I'm going to be so disappointed if it doesn't happen. Say, okay, well, what do you not want to have happen? Oh, well, let me tell you. And they give me the blow by blow of the story they were told in graphic, vivid, horrible detail. And they can visualize that, right? But they're really not spending much time visualizing what they want. And so my recommendation to you in the course of studying these birthing through hypnosis methods and preparing for your childbirth experience is put energy towards what you want to have happen. Allow yourself to pattern into your body, mind, and spirit what it is you want to have happen. And that will be easier to do as you learn these techniques and other visualization tools. And of course, none of us get any guarantees in childbirth. We don't get to know for sure that we are going to, ace the landing, that our baby's going to be born just like we were visualizing. But what if we increase our odds by doing this kind of visualization, by preparing in this way, by using our mind-body connection to our highest good? And I truly believe that that is an important part of preparing for childbirth and an important gift that you can give to yourself and to your child.